Hey everyone, this is Southern Fried Chat again, here with Matt Beck and Aon, who co hosts the Flip the Stock Market podcast that comes on every other Thursday. It's an awesome show that everyone should check out. Fun fact, he is also a former employee from Grayscale, a leading crypto institution. So I wanted to kind of start at the beginning for you just to get a bigger picture, considering your background at Grayscale. I kind of want to get a bigger picture how it ultimately led to where you are now. So remind us of how you got into crypto.
Yeah. So if I go about 10 to 12 years ago in my career, I was in kind of like traditional finance, but at the specifically focused on quantitative investing and systematic investing. So I was working at a company just out of college called MSCI Barra. And so Barra was working with a lot of like the bigger quant hedge funds, the Two Sigmas, Renaissance, AQR, Bridgewaters of the world, to help them basically utilize a suite of tools and models that MSCI Barra had built that helped them to um, systematically construct their portfolios, evaluate risk, um, and understand like different types of factor exposures that they have in their portfolio. So this is kind of like how I first got involved in the world of quantitative investing. And it was through that experience that I just learned that I really like to understand how the world works and how the markets work and basically figure out ways to beat the market. I just thought
Gotcha.
like, the markets are
Yeah.
this fascinating puzzle. And it's also really interesting when you solve the puzzle and there's a pot of gold at the end. So this is like a fun game that I like to play.
Yeah.
Um, I think some of the quantitative investors that I was seeing at that point in my career were the most effective at figuring out how to consistently beat the market. So I was like, okay, this is the path that I want to go down. And so when I was at MSCI Bar, I decided I ultimately wanted to become a portfolio manager. And some friends and colleagues at the time encouraged me to take the CFA exam, which was like, all
Oh
right,
yeah.
you go to
Yeah.
your MBA, take the CFA exam. But this is like something that I think you should do as a stepping stone to being able to go down that
That
path.
sounds
So
for chartered financial analyst, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
I
so
actually, fun fact, I was considering that. I was actually going down the actuarial path. I don't know if you ever looked into
oh,
that.
interesting.
I was
Yeah.
like halfway through that, and then I hated my internship. Totally shifted priorities. I wanted to do computer science then, but anyways, yeah. Sorry,
There,
interrupted.
there's like several levels of the actuarial exam, right? It's
It is
like
awful. I did half of it, and it was just like this is horrible. I don't want to do this
yeah,
anymore.
that's
Sorry,
called that.
sorry.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
right.
Didn't mean to interrupt there.
Yeah, and so I took the CFA exam, and then around the time that I passed the third level, I was approached by a recruiter for an opportunity at Bridgewater Associates, and so I thought, I was a huge fan of reading Ray Dalio and Bridgewater's investment research and writings over the years, and I thought
Yeah.
like better place to go learn about the world and how to be markets than Bridgewater. Like they've clearly figured something out, and I think I've always also been someone who is fascinated by very unique cultures. So whereas the Bridgewater culture, I think like scared a lot of people away, it was extremely enticing to me
Okay.
because I wanted to like test myself. I wanted to see like, can I go into this culture of radical truth and transparency where people are going to give me like very objective feedback about myself. I'm going to learn about myself. It's going to be like a professional experience, but also like a deeply personal experience. And that was just an exciting path for me. And so I joined Bridgewater in November 2014. And I spent about a year and a half at Bridgewater within the client service department. So the client service group would basically produce all sorts of investment content, research, reporting for Bridgewater's institutional clients, helping them understand how they thought about the world, markets, economies, how to build better portfolios consistently, these sorts of things. And they say when you go into Bridgewater, there's like this path that is quite common,
Gotcha.
where within the first 8 months, there's this thing that's known within Bridgewater called the Valley of Despair. where you're like
Gotcha.
trying to adapt to the culture and you're having a tough time with the feedback. And so a lot of people go through this period of time called the valley of despair when they're like 8 or 9 months in, which is just you're trying to adapt to this culture. And but they say like, you know, if you can fight through and stretch it out to 18 months, that's really the amount of time you need to give it to know if you are like want to be a long-term fit here or not. So like fight through this valley of despair period, get to the 18-month period and figure out if it's what you like where you want to be long term. And so I went in like very determined to like see it through. Like I was like, I'm not just gonna like leave when things get tough. I'm gonna get to the 18 months, go through that process, figure out if it's the right long-term thing for me, and then go from there. Um, and so when I made it to the 18 months, it was actually very clear to me that this is not what I felt super passionate about long term. But that wasn't it wasn't immediately obvious to me as to why that was the case. And I was very honest with a lot of like my friends and colleagues there. So in the spirit of this Bridgewater culture of radical truth and transparency and reflection, they encouraged me to go down this path of like reflecting on and trying to understand like why it was the case that I was unhappy in the first place, like trace that to the root cause. And what I ultimately realized when I went through that exploration, when you go into Bridgewater, they also give you a bunch of like, you know, different types of personality tests and values tests and these sorts of things. Like they're very data driven. And so one of the tests was a values based test, and it gave you like 100 different categories of things that people value, and it asked you to choose your top three. And so when I went back to my testing, I saw in my top three that I chose family, friends, and having a big impact on the world. I
Cool.
was like, oh, of course, I'm not happy here. Like, I'm like a slave. I'm not spending any time with my family and friends, and a cog in this bigger machine. But I don't personally feel like the work that I'm doing is having, as much of an impact as I'd like to. And so, like, something's got to give, something's got to change. And I didn't want to just go to another like quantitative investment firm and do the same thing because I felt like if I was doing that, I wasn't really like learning anything.
Yeah.
I said, all right, I got to do something like pretty different. And I've always been a pretty creative and entrepreneurial spirited person. And so I started just combing around and looking for different interesting startups. And that was a common path for a lot of other friends that I had that left there. And I started poking around on the internet and I found this job posting for a company called Grayscale
Cool.
Investments,
Okay.
which had a $30 million passive Bitcoin fund called the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust.
Right.
That was the only product at the time.
Right.
It had three employees, including the founder and CEO, Barry Silbert. And
What year was that again?
this was in probably late 2015, early
Oh
2016.
wow. Okay. Very early. Okay.
And
Gotcha.
I had heard about Bitcoin. This I think this ties back to SPX a lot because I had
Yeah.
heard about Bitcoin in 2013 when it I think had a spike from like
Yeah.
$10 to $70,
Yeah.
and I thought I missed it, so I just like learned about it for a week, forgot about it for a couple of years, and then when I saw this job posting, I went back and I looked at the Bitcoin price and it was like $400. I was like, wait a second, this thing's up 6 or 7x. No one's talking about it. If I go online, everyone says it's dead. Um, like, what the hell is going on here? Like, something is happening here. And then I started reading about Barry Silbert, who was the founder and CEO of Grayscale
Yeah.
Investments and the parent company DCG. And I learned that Barry was an entrepreneur with a track record of success. He had just sold his previous company, which was called Second Market, to NASDAQ. And so I'm like, okay, this entrepreneur with a track record of an exit to NASDAQ is going all in on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's up 6 or 7x, connecting the dots. Something seems like it's happening here. I should go in and meet with them and learn more.
Right.
And so that's what I did. And I sat down with Barry and who was a very close friend of mine, who's the former CEO of Grayscale, Michael Sonnenschein, and they convinced me that Bitcoin was this revolutionary asset and technology that could totally disrupt and change the entire global financial system for the better. I thought it was either 100x or a zero type of outcome, but I was young. it was something that I felt would more appropriately align with my values. And I thought this is it. If there's ever a time to go for something like this is it.
Yeah.
And so I made the leap, and I spent 4 years at Grayscale working very closely with Michael and Barry, taking it from a $30 million investment manager with a single passive Bitcoin fund to a multi-billion dollar asset manager with 10 to 12 different products that we brought to market around different crypto assets. And the
Right.
model was kind of trying to mimic what iShares or Vanguard did for, equities or fixed income products. And so we were trying to be that for what we believed was this new asset class, cryptocurrency and crypto assets. Um, and that was like a crazy ride. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
I think what I didn't realize is how intense. Like like you always hear the stories of entrepreneurs and people who are like early at a company. You always hear the stories about how like difficult some of the tough times are, but I also never fully appreciated how difficult some of the really, really good times are because things are just like super
Crazy.
busy. You're always building 24/7, weekends, nights for years, to get
Yeah.
there. So it was a lot of fun and we had, tremendous success. I think we were the fastest growing asset manager in history
Right.
uh, at that point, and then and then the largest cryptocurrency investment manager in the world. So
Yeah.
it was the ride of a lifetime. And uh, after about 4 years, I was kind of getting the itch to get back to like the active investing roots of like solving the market puzzle. Like even
Gotcha.
though I was satisfying the values at that point, I wasn't satisfying this itch of like wanting to solve the market puzzle.
Because the main focus there was to get money in, and y'all collected a fee off of it. Acting is
Exactly. So we were creating access products. So
yeah.
like there were so many investors who wanted Bitcoin exposure back in forward
Right.
thinking investors who wanted exposure in 2015, 2016. They didn't know how to acquire it. They didn't know how to store it. And they wanted to just get exposure to Bitcoin through like a traditional investment vehicle. So
Yeah.
we were creating these products that would help facilitate that.
Makes sense.
Um,
Okay.
and yeah, I was just getting the itch to get back to like understanding and decoding the markets a bit. And I had bought Bitcoin all the way up to like 19 or 20K. I think that was like the peak it hit in 2017.
Something like that. Yeah.
And then I wrote it all the way. I was buying at like 16, 17K. And then I wrote it all the
Yeah.
way back down to 3K. And I was like, that sucked. Like, how
Yeah.
do I, how do I avoid that in the future?
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, no one really understands how this market works. It's evidenced by the volatility of the market. And if someone's going to figure it out, like, why not us? And so I went to Barry and Michael and I said, hey, like, we should start thinking about expanding the product suite from passive to also including active products in the same way that BlackRock has,
Right.
passive investment vehicles for the stock market and active investment vehicles. So I was like, we should think about if there's something we can decode and do there and offer investors a very unique return stream and product that they can't get elsewhere. So they were like, all right, go see what you can figure out. So I spent 6 to 8 months going down that path of trying to figure out some things that I thought could work. I came back to Barry and Michael and pitched them on some ideas. And then it was at that point, Barry said, you know what, why don't I pull you up to the DCG parent company level and we can test some of these ideas and you can help me manage the balance sheet investment strategy because DCG had a venture portfolio of a bunch of
Gotcha.
stage crypto and blockchain companies that it was investing in. It had a bunch of different, tokens that it had conviction in on the balance sheet. And so we had this balance sheet portfolio that was probably several $100 million at the time that Barry was like, why don't you help me, manage this and we'll see where we can take it. And so I transitioned into that seat at the end of 2019 and I spent 4 years in that seat, which was fantastic because I kind of got to see everything. Like I was investing in early stage crypto and blockchain companies. I was investing in early stage protocols and crypto projects. I was doing liquid token investing and trading. We were backing fund managers. We were doing some arbitrage types of strategies. Like I got to get exposure to all of it.
Right.
which was amazing. And then I also lived through the 2022, credit crisis, which was
Yeah.
like a real test. And um, that was like that was a pretty intense experience for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it was because you were at that point, you worked so hard to build up this company around this asset market that you believe in for 8 years, and then things like that happen, and you're like, is it what did I just spend the last 8 years doing? Like is it is the market and asset class going away? Like da da da.
You
Like people were
always, you
the
always,
thing.
you always get those doubts in your mind, even if you've been in it that long, and
Yeah,
it still
and
makes
like
you think that.
to be honest, like I had been through enough of the ups and downs that I was like, no, we just got to grind
Right.
it out. But it was hard. And then I stayed in that seat through June of last year.
Okay.
And in June of last year, I was at a point where I had been at DCG for 8.5 years. I was probably like one of the longest standing employees at the company besides Barry at that point. I felt like I had learned a tremendous amount from Barry over the years. Like he is a force of an entrepreneur and he gets things done. And he has a vision and he really did help to shape the crypto and Bitcoin market tremendously in the very early days. So I have a lot of respect for him in that way. But I just felt like my ultimate dream and path was to go out and have a bit more autonomy and do things on my own. Um, and so that's what I did in June of last year. And so I spent the summer off just focusing on family and friends and spending some time with them. And then I started kicking the tires again, investing in the market and trading the market in fall of last year.
Gotcha.
But what was interesting around this time is I had more time to think deeply about things and reason about the crypto market from like a first principles perspective, think a bit more clearly about things than I was able to think about when you have like a million things coming at you at once.
Sure.
And so that thought process is part of what led me here.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I guess I kind of assumed that it sounds like your grayscale led you into your crypto Bitcoin was kind of the start of the journey actually for you. I thought maybe you were into it, then you got into grayscale, but it was
No, that was the beginning. And I didn't buy my first Bitcoin until after I joined Grayscale
gotcha.
in beginning of 2016.
Cool, cool. That's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that, but yeah. So so having that time off, um, looking at it from first principles, and that's how you've delved it. You probably, if you were still in the grind, you might not even have
I might
noticed
not
it.
even be here.
Right.
You know,
Gotcha.
I honestly feel very fortunate that I
Yeah.
had the time and space to think about things so deeply. Um, and yeah, I would say the thought process that led me here probably took like 8 to 10 months. It was a
Gotcha.
very long thought process across a number of different verticals that all coalesced together at strangely like the right time and led me to
Yeah. So were you dabbling in meme coins last summer or last fall or
so I wrote a note. I keep like a notepad of just thoughts that pop into my head that I want to write down and remember. And then I try to see if there are things that I can connect across some of those thoughts, like synthesizing them more holistically. And one of the notes that I wrote down, I think in June of 2024 was, um, it was something along the lines of like, there are times when the divide between the haves and the have-nots becomes so strong that people can bend the spoon, hence things like Bitcoin and meme coins. And that was the note. And so it was
mm,
like, okay, like Bitcoin was like something that people created almost out like there was obviously like a technological component to that facilitated it.
yeah, yeah.
I really think belief is the thing that carried it through to what it is today. And
Mm,
I think there's strong logic underpinning that. And so I essentially saw people like flip the chessboard on the traditional system through coordinated belief. And what was becoming more clear to me about meme coins generally at that point, even though I wasn't even participating or dabbling in the market, I saw this similar sentiment of people who were looking for a way to engineer themselves financially out of their circumstances via meme coins because the options, like the alternatives and options available to them were limited. Like
Yep.
many people just, they're millennials, Gen Z, or just, regular everyday people who feel like in some capacity, like they missed the stock market, they missed the real estate market, they missed Bitcoin, they missed Ethereum. They're suffering from inflation. They're not seeing wage growth. They're worried about the future of AI. Like this culmination of all these things, I saw that as, I guess, contributors for what was happening in the meme coin market.
Yep.
But the meme coin market at that point to me was like, I was like, okay, I can see what's happening here, but it's very loosely coordinated and people are just swinging at different lottery tickets. That's the way I perceived it at the time. So I wasn't like necessarily like I should do something here yet, but I did see something deeper than just the surface level thing that was happening.
Yeah, I think. I mean, and to be fair, a lot of it is the lottery ticket, swinging at lottery tickets type, like playing chicken basically with each other.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is that, and I learned something. So I was mostly just into Bitcoin, and I think I had some Solana and Ethereum and typical stuff at the beginning of 2024, and but I had bought some bonk like way early. Not even like it was actually just to play with it because I was like testing Solana out and stuff, and I bought it. I forgot about it, and I put like $20 in, and it was like 2 grand. That was the first thing. I was like, what the, that's crazy. And so that got me thinking about it, and then I went down the rabbit hole pretty far. Joined a bajillion telegrams for a bajillion different meme coins, and some were shit, some were fun, some were communities that actually were trying to do something, some had teams, pretty much everything you could possibly think of, and participated in all of them, and made some money here, made some money there, and lost some money here, lost some money there. Overall, I probably made a little bit, maybe broke even on a lot of it, but that's and SPX represents for me like truly what we were trying to do in those telegrams and those different things, those different vehicles of speculation.
Yeah. So one of the things I picked up on over the years and tried to like retrain my mind on is I've been through a bunch of these like 80% drawdowns in the market where things just have melted down, and I've developed an ability to ride through them over the years. But I think the first one was probably like really, really tough. But as time went on, I was able to retrain my mind to start to be like, this is when the money is made.
Yeah,
So when
yeah.
everyone else is like just melting down, that's
Mm-hmm.
when you have to be totally plugged in, looking for the groundbreaking things that are sticking out for some reason. And when Trump was inaugurated,
Yeah.
the Trump meme coin meltdown happened,
Mm-hmm.
SPX was one of the few things on my radar.
Yeah.
And one of the things that started to lead me actually deep down the rabbit hole was seeing the response of the community and also the response of like the asset's performance, which was being driven by something deeper that I couldn't really see at that time in the aftermath of that event. It was a clear outlier. And so I was looking at a lot of data, and the data was like the diagnostic that sent up my antenna,
Okay.
where I was like, something very, very different is happening here, and I need to go in and understand what is happening here.
Gotcha. Yeah, and for me, it was well, Murad initially got me interested for sure, but it was I would say I was mostly a vibe investor, I guess, and seeing how the main difference for me is when the price dips, people don't cry and moan and bitch and moan. They actually embrace it. That's the
Yeah.
biggest difference, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, then it was like what I was trying to do once I had the antenna go up from looking at
Yeah.
the data is like okay, at a more deep fundamental level, like what's really going on here.
Right.
And I created an Aeon all, and I started to create my timeline. And that was also an aha moment where I was like, whoa, this thing is much bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Uh, these people are just, they're relentless. And I thought like the $1 trillion price targets in the beginning, I was like, this is just an amazing. I was like, this is just an amazing troll. Like these guys are just amazing trollers. They're hilarious, like,
That's how I
And then
felt too. Yeah.
and then I started to realize I'm like, wait, holy shit, they're serious. Like they're actually serious.
Yeah.
And then um there were a lot of things like I would see people posting about, and I was like, it initially appeared to me as word salad.
Yes.
But as I started to spend more time, I'm like, wait, this is like not word salad. This is like a highly coherent thought that is extremely deep about like what's really going on here. And I realized this thing was the belief was just deeper than anything I'd ever seen, and I could measure it because it was showing up in the metrics. So I was able to say like it's like one thing if I say, okay, I'm gonna do all this stuff. Like it's a trust thing. And this is why I think like what SPX is building is a next generation trust asset like Bitcoin. Like I could tell you I'm going to do a bunch of things, but then not show up and not do them. And so like you're not going to trust me, right? But at a significant enough scale over a substantial enough period of time, when people continue to demonstrate through their actions that they do what they say they're going to do, you start to build and accrue trust.
Yep.
And then at a certain point of following that long enough and meeting people and um, engaging with them, you can cross the trust hurdle. And so I kind of feel like I was fortunate enough in that I went down this path and I was basically able to cross the trust hurdle faster than others based on what I witnessed in the actions of these people and my experience with them, and for having monitored it for a sustainable and long enough period of time. And I think what will naturally happen with trust assets like SPX and Bitcoin is like there's a few believers in the beginning who say like we're going to do this, and no one believes them.
Yep.
This is why they're like systematically underestimated because a lot of people don't believe them. And the ones that actually do what they say they're going to do, they force the market to capitulate. So why did Bitcoin become what Bitcoin became?
Yeah.
It became what it became because a bunch of people believed in the promise that Bitcoin offered, and they fought for it and they stuck around and they followed through on their word. And that was a relatively small group of people. My view is 90%, 95, maybe even 99% of people who are in Bitcoin to this day are not the true believers that were there at the outset that got it there. They're
No,
simply people
definitely
that
not. Yeah.
watched it go up and outperform everything for long enough that they finally just capitulated. Like
Yeah.
they couldn't
Yeah.
ignore it anymore. They
Yeah.
had no arguments for like why they shouldn't be in it. And so they just capitulated. And so there's something very special about the group of people, in my opinion, that from the outset decides to band together, decides for a very pure purpose that they want to fight for this thing, and to do it before the charts validate it for everyone else, which is when everyone else is going to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we see that now. It's almost like little mini cycles that the meme coins go through, because it's you'll see people be like Murad's right, or something. These crazy people are right, and then they'll all trade it. And then as soon as there's a sniff of a negative, those guys dump and they leave. So they don't really believe it.
Yeah, exactly. And like at the end of the day, that's what you that's what it comes down to. And for me, a big part of it really is the people being like high integrity, following through on their word, doing what they say they're going to do, and then I can objectively validate that through on-chain metrics. And the reason that's so powerful is because um, as a former venture investor, like one of the number one things you're indexing on when you're looking for like the next founder or company to back is the people behind the thing and integrity.
Yeah.
These are like two of the hot, like the most, in my opinion, the most important, highest weighted factors for like why you would want to bet on something. So I see these people that are super hardcore. They have high integrity. They continue to follow through, and they earn my trust. And so now I am like a contributor and part of what I believe is an early stage trust machine. And for me, it's very important to walk the walk effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. When did you buy your first coin?
So I mentioned this to Cow, Tans, and Manj. I think I bought my first coin in early October, or my first batch of coins, let's say.
Gotcha.
I bought one, obviously. And then I think I sold it like 4 weeks later. And it was
I gotcha.
just great for me.
This is a trade. Gotcha.
I was like interested in it. I was like, oh, this is a good meme.
Yeah.
This like I could see like why people would be enticed by this.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a believer at that point. It wasn't until after watching the entire market melt down in end of
February times. Yeah.
And seeing the response that I was like, okay, this thing is very, very different and unique.
Yes. Yes, we actually grew stronger. I think a lot of meme coins, the price went down a lot, and the fundamentals went down a lot. Believers were gone, and I was a part of other communities, and that's when I was like, I'm done with them, and I committed myself. So I was already in it, and I was contributing, but I was still contributing to others. And then after the meltdown and seeing the different responses, that's when I realized I just need to put all my efforts, and I still hold some of the other coins, but this is where I need to put all my efforts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that was definitely a pivotal,
Like a pivotal moment
for sure.
for SPX,
And for all the meme coins, like
I think it's like Munchies or maybe it's one of the other OGs, but they talk about like like the concept of the exam,
yeah,
like the exam is in session. Like, are you going to pass the exam? And for me, watching that, they passed the exam. Simple as that.
yeah. It's crazy. We're roughly the same price, I think, that we were in like whatever we ended up at the high in January, December, whatever that was. But the difference between the people and the contributions and the sheer amount of people, the sheer amount of content, and all that fundamental stuff, it's insane. It's like 10x at least from them.
Yeah, and I think it compounds on itself. Like the ripple effects of the daily small actions or big actions by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
They come that consistency and that scale compounds.
Mm-hmm.
You put out a tweet talking about an idea or a concept, you don't know who that tweet is going to connect with.
Yeah.
And every time you go out and you evangelize and you talk about the importance of what we're doing, there could be hypothetically some people out there that gravitate to that for one reason or another.
Yep.
And so for me, that's why that consistency is super important because
Yep.
that is what perpetuates the network effect. And I also I thought about this before I came out in March and started being more public about my passion and conviction in this thing. I thought about the early Bitcoiners and guys like Andreas Antonopoulos and Eric Voorhees and Barry Silver and the people who are out there talking about this and evangelizing. And Bitcoin doesn't become Bitcoin if those people don't get out there and do that.
Right.
And of course, that's hard. And of course, you're going to have people who will be critical of that. But at the end of the day, if you really believe in something and you want something to happen, you have to do something about it and you have to stand up for it. And so that was like where I landed on that and why I started participating more actively.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't compare it to the other meme coins. It's not even really comparable. Like the actual actions of the holders, it's not really comparable. And I don't think people are seeing that.
I think people fall into this gap of doing these mental shortcuts. So some other person who you don't know came up with this categorization, the meme category.
Yeah, yeah.
They told you, like, oh, this thing is just part of this category. And then you do this like mental shortcut and you're like, oh yeah, this this thing is like a lot of these other things
Yeah.
in a particular way. We we should just group them all together.
Yes.
But this is a logical fallacy because it would be akin to, let's say you're trying to find the next like the next big entrepreneur, but you use this like very naive grouping. You're like, oh, that's just a human, you know,
Yeah.
oh, that's just another human. Like,
Yeah. They
let's just,
don't know anything. Yeah.
what if the human is Elon Musk? You know,
Right.
that the defining characteristic of Elon Musk is not that he's human, it's that he's Elon Musk, right? So the defining characteristic of SPX is not that it's a meme, it's all these other things.
Yeah.
You're looking at the wrong, you're like doing this naive shortcut grouping where you're looking at the wrong things.
Right.
Uh,
I mean, and I I posted about this. Like, that's something I think that other meme coins and people who are advocates for other meme coins, I think, miss. That they almost look at like, oh, I'm in this coin, so we have this like mimetic moat for this particular coin, and that has got nothing to do with anything actually, because you can meme this. They think, oh, it's just trying to flip the stock market. That's all it is. So you can meme this in infinite ways. Like, you can use Pepe in an SPX meme. You can use whatever in an SPX meme. There is no mimetic moat. That's nonsense.
yeah, I think
Like, Dogecoin had a lot of hardcore believers too at the beginning. So just it's not just that's not it didn't succeed just because of the
I
meme.
think
So
I think it comes down to a combination of a perfect set of ingredients. So you need memetics in the sense like this has to be an idea that is intuitive and people understand and it resonates with people. And within the crypto ecosystem, but even more importantly, outside of the crypto ecosystem. Like if you want to have like the largest penetration, the largest TAM, you need to appeal to people outside of the crypto ecosystem because that cohort of people is honestly just so much larger than the number of people that are in crypto.
oh,
Like if you
absolutely.
figure out how to tap into that group of people, that's really powerful. So I think that's one thing. The second thing is I think it's really powerful when the idea attaches to a latent but ubiquitous ideology or emotion that exists in the world. So it's like um, people feel like the system is not working for them, and SPX flipping the stock market is a direct critique
Yeah.
on that exact ideology. So that feeds into it.
Hmm.
Then you have like for whatever reason the early people who were in this project were special.
Hmm.
They were very high integrity. They did very difficult things. They stuck to their word, and they created this higher barrier of trust that exists when compared to other meme coins. It created a magnetism, and now there is a network effect underway
Yeah.
where, this thing's got 205,000 holders. It's growing every single day. And there's like these ingredients and even other ingredients that like if I went through my notes, I've thought about them, but like off the top of my head, they're hard to it's hard to recall the whole suite of them. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
a special set of ingredients that feeds into this, and it's super rare.
Yeah, that's a comp. But that, yeah, I agree. I think the mimetics are powerful. A lot of people act like they're not. I'm talking to critics
Oh,
here.
the
Yeah,
mission is
yeah,
important. Having a goal is important.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
if you don't have a mission or a goal, um, no one knows what they're shooting for. Like that is, I think, when I
Exactly.
look back at um, memes as a category in June of last year, when I said it was like sort of loosely coordinated or disorganized, like you don't even know where the road ends.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's super ambitious and like a very, very high ceiling. Of course, like we get that. And that's designed to create bigger outcomes. Like if you're a founder and you aim small, you're gonna build something really small. Like I think Jeff Bezos was like, you you literally limit yourself by thinking small. So think really, really big. So
Yeah.
I see this is something that is like it's very, very powerful in terms of how big this is aiming to be.
Yeah.
And imagine like we were just you don't see I think we'll see these reincarnations of the Bitcoin phenomenon And Bitcoin's a $2.4 trillion asset today. Unless you aim for for the stars, you you you're going to cap out at like, something much smaller than that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think if every meme coin participant in most other coins, they were like they all have a plan to exit at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Almost every single one of them do. So, and
I,
I think that's the key differentiator
I
is
my dream is to do what Bitcoin did. Like
yeah,
Bitcoin got to a point where the people who hold Bitcoin, they're like, I don't want to sell. What would I sell for?
yeah,
They literally willed a new asset, a new currency into existence. And you gotta incrementally get there. But I think the dream for me is like the biggest outcomes that I've seen in this industry, they're actually associated with social phenomena, cryptocurrencies, and abstract social networks,
yeah,
which I find SPX fits into all those categories. Like it is a pure cryptocurrency in the sense that it could become like amongst aeons, like a currency that people want to hold and store value in and pay each other with.
yeah.
So it's true currency in that respect. It is an abstract social phenomena. Like there's a social network layer to this that is growing. And what was the third thing I said? I said abstract social phenomena, cryptocurrency.
You said social network. You said that too. I think
It's social network,
you're
but
right about that.
I forget.
Sorry,
We'll have to cut
I was
that.
listening, but I didn't quite remember. No, I know what you're saying. And in the social network, it's like it also makes like an algorithm too, in a way, for you to enjoy your social content as well,
Really?
which is awesome. That's one of the biggest benefits, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like people just got to a point where they don't sell Bitcoin anymore. Like I don't sell Bitcoin for dollars. Like why would I do
Right,
that?
right.
But it takes time to build up to that. Like you have to build trust. You have to be Lindy over a very long period of time. You have to like, kind of like prove that like people are going to stick around that actually want to will a new currency or a new asset into existence over a sustainable period of time.
Mm,
And I think we can do that.
yep.
I think it's a mindset thing. You have to find enough people with that mindset where they want to go for it.
Well, everybody I've spoken to on this podcast, even the episodes I haven't released yet, I get more bullish every time because they're everyone I've spoken to is like you can just tell they, like you said, high integrity, extremely bullish. Pretty much all of them are all in, so it's and they really don't have any plans to sell, and yeah, it's just it's a cool thing because I think we're proving that, and the tipping culture I think kind of shows the currency side of
Yeah, I
things.
think like the tipping culture, the DCA culture,
Yeah,
I
this is,
had a tweet today about bounty culture, where it's like, okay, someone wants to build something, we put up a bounty for it, and
I think
so
it's a great idea. Actually, I think Mike is what you specifically were asking about. I think Mike had this big idea about that. He's
great.
working with somebody else. Yeah,
I think it's fantastic because I was actually thinking about it more from um, like a data perspective in terms of things that I'd like to see built. Like
yeah.
I'm having a lot of conversations these days with investors who are, maybe like 4 months ago, they were like, what are you talking about?
What
And
the
now they're
fuck?
calling me up and being like, okay, like wait, like explain this to me, like what the hell's going on here?
Right.
And they want to see metrics. And so I was
Yeah.
thinking, oh, so great. Like Murad's put out a bunch of these metrics. I think Aeon Reborn has put out,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
redone some of Murad's metrics.
And redone some, I think. Yeah.
Think about things that are demonstrative of diamond-handedness and trust, like Bitcoin's hodl waves. That was like an
Yeah.
analytic that Bitcoin in the early days. So I was like, man, it'd be really cool if we could build like a bunch of stuff that allows people to see this more clearly so that they can understand what is happening here. Oh, it would be really great if I could put out a bunch of bounties and just ask really smart engineers or analytics people to build these types of things to help me to help me tell the story, or Murad tell the story, or other people tell the story. And so that's where the idea came from. I was like, oh, it would just be really cool. I would be happy to pay people in SPX to help create some of this stuff.
Yes.
There's so many other things that we could build onto the social network that already exists here to creatively monetize it.
Mm-hmm.
So the value is in the 200,000 people that are here to stay and
Mm-hmm.
growing. This is a social network that has tremendous uh, value within it that is expressed through SPX as a token.
Yep.
But there's also many, many other ways to elevate that value, compound that value, and monetize that value in new ways if we think creatively enough about it.
Yes.
I'm trying to think more creatively of like, I mean, even what you're doing and what I'm doing with the podcasts, like how amazing is it that you can go out and launch something like that and then have listeners on day one?
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's great.
All that support, that there's tremendous value in that.
Oh, yeah.
If I was trying to do that before getting into this community, I would have about 5 listeners.
Yep. Yep.
So there's a lot of value that people just need to figure out creative ways to tap into here.
Yeah. 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 What's I gonna had a thought about that. Yeah, you have instant access to people to hear what you have to say because everybody wants to support. All the SPS community wants to support Aeons.
This is something I also said to Manj, Tans, and Cow. There is more pure alignment within SPX than I've seen um, when compared to any other asset in my almost 10-year crypto career since Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like the only other asset where I've seen like this level of like pure alignment, all constituents, all players are aligned towards a singular goal, a singular outcome, and they all win together. That is almost not the case in any other crypto asset network because there's always like this incentive
Yeah.
misalignment or infighting around like, you guys have a larger supply of the tokens, or you guys are cheating the system by, running more sequencers or validators than you should be, and things
Yeah.
like that. You don't have any of that here. So it's actually quite refreshing. Like most of the time in my like early stage protocol and token investing at DCG, when these networks would launch with a token, you're just always dealing with problems.
Yeah.
It's like some infighting amongst different people in the community, and you're trying to smooth it out. What the hell is like this is such a mess. This is such a headache. You don't have that here.
Yeah.
It's very unique.
Yeah. I mean, there's some politics, but the politics I think are actually bullish because it's usually just like, are you maxi enough? Are you not maxi enough? Like
Yeah.
that's all
I think
bullish talk.
I also agree that it's very bullish. It means people really care.
Yeah.
They really.
Yeah, it's like bullish politics. The other thing I wanted to add is I mean, from a supply perspective, you really you don't get any better than this, right? Because the supply is already out there. There's no new supply.
Yeah, I think.
There's no inflation, or from the supply perspective, it's technically better than Bitcoin because there's still some coins to be distributed.
Yeah, I think the good. All right, so um, it's a good question, and to be honest, I have to think about it a bit more.
Okay.
The benefit of something like Bitcoin, where the supply is emitted over time,
Mm-hmm.
is it gives people a longer time to participate in the ecosystem and feel like there's still coins that are sort of like freshly minted available that no one else can like gobble up. Um, but then here, like, it honestly really comes down to it. That I don't think that matters so much. It really comes down to like the value of the thing that underpins the token, the protocol, the network. So, whether you have like an inflating, like a disinflationary money supply or tokenomics over time or a fixed supply, it really comes down to like, is there still value in the token, or is like the network still growing in a way that you want to see to justify going out into the market and acquiring these tokens or
Yeah.
participating in the network through this like inflationary emission. So I don't even think it truly matters so much as long as the right fundamentals are there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the demand side is definitely more important. I guess I was just thinking. Uh, I
It's
mean,
it
it's
makes the story a lot easier, to be honest. It's like,
makes
yeah,
makes
like
the what again?
the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's all circulating. Like there's no games. From
Yes.
that perspective, there's no games that can be
Right.
played all out there. You know?
I find it bullish. I like that idea that it's just out there.
Yeah, I think I do too.
Yeah.
Um, I do too.
And there's no like with Ethereum. There's like it might be deflationary, it might be inflationary. It depends on the day. I don't like that. The where that's why I actually like Bitcoin's better because it's like known. We know exactly what's happening, and
One of Bitcoin's greatest superpowers is its simplicity.
yeah,
And I think SPX also has elements of that,
yeah,
which what makes it appealing to such a broader group of people outside of just crypto Twitter, which is really the holy grail. The holy grail is like you want to be able to onboard everyone
mm,
and want to give everyone a fair shot at being able to utilize a token, a cryptocurrency, a crypto asset to figure out creative ways to coordinate with other humans to improve their lives in one way or another, whether that's like financial, social, what have you. So yeah, I think it's like important that it's like has this simplicity to it that is very, very appealing to a very large group of people.
Do you still mess around with your alt account, or you just
Um,
abandoned it?
no, not really. Like I kind of did that as
Due diligence.
just like like an exploration exercise. So
Okay, so okay, I want to go back a little bit because I don't. So you bought tokens in October. That was a trade. When did? So it was like in February where you got back in, and you were
yeah, February is when I was like, okay, something very, very special is happening here. Um, and that's when I started going deep down the rabbit hole. That's when I started realizing people were serious. That's when I started seeing some of the outlier metrics. Like we would look at SPX, wallet growth versus every other meme coin in the market, and it was green and up and to the right, and everything else was down, you know? And you would look at diamond handedness or quantity of wallets holding over $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. Like it was just better across every possible dimension.
yeah,
Um, and so that's when I got serious about it.
yeah. Is that when you started posting under
And it
your
was
name?
also at the time the whole market was down. It's probably somewhere between like in the altcoin market was down like somewhere between like 60 to 90%,
Yeah,
95%, depending on what token you're looking at. And I thought SPX was getting incorrectly grouped into that drawdown. Like people were just selling everything. But when I was looking at the data, it was telling me a very different story. And this is like kind of, if you listen to some of like Jeff Bezos's interviews about Amazon stock
yeah,
during the dot-com bubble, he's like, the stock market is not the company. And what's happening to the stock associated with this dot-com bubble is very, very different from the internal metrics that I'm looking at with the company. So I'm more bullish on the company than ever before. And it was a similar kind of dynamic for me where I was just like, oh, this is an example of a general bubble within the meme coin sector bursting and something emerging out of that bubble bursting as a clear outlier and essentially like an Amazon or a Google of this category.
right. Yeah, yeah. The clear leader for sure. So did you start posting on your main account then, or was it a bit later? Just
Started
curious.
posting, I think, in beginning of March.
Okay, I remember you popped in my radar at some point. I was like, "Who's
I
that?"
was posting a little bit ahead of that. Like if you go back, but it's funny. You can tell when I got into SPX because the likes and comments and everything like just started going berserk. But like if you look at some of my tweets from like January,
Yeah,
I'll have like 4 likes. But one of the tweets I put out a tweet, I was actually looking back on it leading up to this call. I put out a tweet on January 19th.
yeah,
I think it got 5 likes. This was like coinciding with the Trump inauguration and like the Trump coin launch and everything. And I said, distressed meme coin investing is going to make a killing over the next year with a few good picks. And so like I was like very in like focused on looking at this,
Yeah.
but I wasn't fully in SPX yet.
Yep. 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 Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, I think whenever you popped on my radar with it, I think everybody was a little bit like, oh, somebody. I mean, people were like, oh, look at somebody from Grayscale. That's interesting. Somebody who has a professional background in crypto is taken with it. That I think that was in a lot of people's minds. Whenever
Yeah,
they
like I
noticed
think
that.
it's important to like do your homework, have a basis and a reason for like reasons for building the thesis that you have. But ultimately, like I'm not afraid to go out there and be contrarian and to have a view that's sort of like different from my peers.
Yeah.
And in fact, like every amazing investment that I've made in my career has been controversial. So like that's not a red flag necessarily. That's like something you should actually look for. Like if you want to find investments that are going to outperform everything, like oftentimes they're unconventional or controversial. And so you really got to like go digging and do the home, like do your homework and come up with a basis for that. And it, like I think I said earlier, it was important for me to play a role in that. Like, talking about it, helping educate people and helping them understand my perspective. And so that's why I started being more outspoken about it because I felt like people were missing the meat of like what was going on here,
Yeah.
and it was important to explain it, at least
Yeah.
from at least from my perspective.
Well, I think everybody appreciates it. You're definitely a bullish poster, and I like seeing your tweets. They're very thought provoking. Um, so, okay, I think I got a good understanding of that. This is one question. This might be a weird question, but what do you think your past self would have thought about you? Look, like say 5 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever. Looking at
Yeah.
you right now, talking about SPX6900 on a podcast, what would that person think?
Um, you're crazy. Like he probably would have been like, "You're crazy,"
Yeah.
but like good for you.
Okay.
I like good for you because I think to be outspoken and to do that takes an element of courage
Oh yeah.
and conviction. And I was motivated by the courage that I saw in Murad. I was like, this
Absolutely.
guy he's got balls, man. Like, he's sharing his view, in the worst times of like January and February, like, people are not so nice. And I was like, this guy's got balls, man. Like I admire that. This is like if you're looking for a founder you want to back, like or people that you want to back within a company, like damn, like those are pretty tough people mentally. Um, and so I think I would think like I'm a little bit crazy, but like good for you. Keep the crazy edge and like that's awesome.
That's hilarious. No, yeah, yeah. That's the one thing I find funny is people are like Murad's bearish. I'm like, he's been talking about it the entire time since he got in. He has not changed. It's literally the same thing he was saying in September. He keeps saying it over and over, and he has not changed. Unlike all the other Coles or whatever. I don't understand. I guess I think it's brainwashing from the other Coles that these people. I'm talking about these regular people are like,
They're
oh,
not spending any time looking under the hood.
yeah,
But they're just not getting it. They're not getting it. They're not seeing it the way he's seeing it or you're seeing it or I'm seeing it. And that's why it's important to come up with ways to help people see it that way. Like another thing I put out the other day that I was just thinking about, like sitting in my house, I was like, holy shit, was the tweet about um, if all 200,000 Aeons just bought $1,000 of SPX,
yeah,
$200 million in inflows, which is proportionately equivalent to $310 billion in inflows into Bitcoin.
mm.
Aeons are in control. They're the masters of their own destiny here.
Out of curiosity, what would that lead into price increase? I don't know if I can quite
Well,
fathom
it's
that.
like it's hard to say because it's like okay, like that's call it something like 15 to 20% of the market cap right now.
Right.
That's not a small number, and it really depends on like how much is actually even out there circulating that's up for sale. Like if
Right.
my coins aren't for sale and your coins aren't for sale and Murad's coins aren't for sale and 6.9 million SPX were burned as in
Because there's like a
yeah.
there's like a multiple per dollar,
So
right?
like we don't really know, but it's like,
Yeah.
look, if $310 billion came into Bitcoin, that would have a substantial impact.
Right.
We see the headlines when sailors talking about buying like 5 or 10 or these types of numbers. Like 310 is a big number.
Yeah.
And it's going to move things.
Yeah.
And so 200 million is going to have a proportionally big impact on SPX and move things. And this was like very eye-opening for me because people can say whatever they want, but if the SPX community wants this, they can get it. Like they're in control. And they don't even need to be reliant on anyone else. They're the masters of their own destiny. It's just a matter of, are we aligned? Do we share the same principles? Do we want to go for this? Can we coordinate well and make it happen? And to me, I believe that. Like I really, really believe that. And I don't
Absolutely.
think these are like big types of hurdles to overcome. I really just think it's a matter of time because
Hmm.
the way I see people operating consistently, um, doing the things that they're doing day in and day out, DCAing, onboarding, it's you look at it's a math equation. You look at the numbers, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely is. And yeah, the only thing is, and
When you're bringing new people in,
yeah,
growing the fundamental intrinsic value of the network.
yeah,
Like Facebook as a social network is valued it is valued by the market on the basis of how many users they have because those users have value. Like there is a value that you can attach. Like by coming into the network, you're monetizing yourself in a way. And so as you're building the social network layer of this thing, you're justifying the increase in value of this thing.
exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, it's simple. And that's the one reason why I like the supply dynamics. It's just a matter of demand. There is no supply. You don't have to think about that. That's one thing reason why I like it. You know, it may not have much of a difference, but yeah, agreed. So I was going to mention this, but I think you kind of already answered it. But if you were still with Grayscale, you think you would have totally missed this more than likely?
I did.
Okay,
Um,
interesting.
I think I would have missed it. I think you have to look like organizations. It's not just you making the decision always, you know, and you have to get people on board. And I think this is not even specific to Grayscale, but like once you get to a certain scale, there's a lot of buy-in that you have to get from different type of people who might not see or think about the world the same way as you. And so being in a more nimble position like I am now and able to have autonomy, I was able to see this for what I believe it is and go for it.
Yep,
And
yep.
I probably wouldn't have been able to do it when I was at Grayscale or DCG on the basis of that, but also like it really took a long thought process and time to delve into it to get me here. And I just don't think I would have had the time. So I think I would have missed it.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. You approach this so much different than me. Just thinking about it, for me, it was just like, this is awesome. This is fun. It's not
Yeah,
even
yeah, yeah.
about. And I am a number guy. Like I majored in math in college. I just
Yeah.
don't care about that shit, so I don't think about it that way.
I think
So,
it's like in some ways that's even better, you
yeah.
know? Like, but like I think for me,
No, I'm glad you could say those things though. But it sounds great.
but I'm also like having fun. There is the more intuitive thing, like
Yeah.
the feel, like you're connecting with people. It is a canvas and a tapestry for human expression.
Yes.
You look at what you're doing with the podcast, I'm doing with the podcast with the other guys, but like then you look at what like Hector and Nick and Seb's Trail are doing,
Yeah.
like finding different creative ways to have fun with this, and that's cool as hell. Like and it does like you can build something really really special and still have fun doing it, and I think
Absolutely.
they preserve like a lot of the fun aspects about this. And people want to have fun, they want to meet people, they want to build like real genuine relationships.
Yeah.
It's not it's about like data and number.
Well,
There's something more material on there.
Well, the data numbers probably quieted your rational side of your brain. It made you
Yeah,
calm down.
it was what allowed me to make the it was what allowed me to make the leap and get
Yeah.
comfortable in the first place.
Yeah, I knew there was something special about meme coins. Like I said, I dabbled and I was figuring it out. And I was actually talking to, I was following Murad before I think even the list started, and we communicated through a couple posts about meme coins and how there's something there. Everybody then really hated him, like in May, like really hated him for even talking. So back then, meme coins were a joke, horrible. Don't even think about it.
You know,
So
it's funny. When I first joined Grayscale, within like 2 months, I was working with Michael Sonnenschein and a couple other people who were like at the DCG parent company, and they were like, okay, like you want to start to learn about crypto, like curate your Twitter timeline, you know? And so I started following people.
mhm.
And Murad was probably, this is like back in 2016. Murad was probably one of the first people I followed.
Oh, cool.
He was doing very deep blockchain forensic analysis on Bitcoin. And I was like, wow, he's pretty smart, bright, thoughtful analyst. And he's producing like really, really insightful stuff on Bitcoin. So if I want to learn a bit more about Bitcoin, like this is a good guy to follow. And so I have been following Murad like pre SP, not the whole way through my
Sure,
career,
sure.
but like pre SPX, I knew he was a sharp guy.
Yeah.
Uh, so when he came out with this thesis, I actually spent the time to listen to it. I did pay attention, probably in a way uh, in a way that maybe some other people didn't, because he had built a track record with me through that experience early on of like producing content where I was like, yeah, I know he knows his shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I fought, I was a part of the Bitcoin maxi community, so I've always been part of what I like about crypto is the community aspect. So, but the Bitcoin maxi community became too toxic in my opinion. Anyways, that's part of what I was like. Why a former Bitcoin guy is talking about it, meme coins. That kind of blew my mind a little bit. So, and it was cool because I was down the meme coin rabbit hole prior to Murad talking about it, and then seeing him doing it is like, okay, I used to be a Bitcoin maxi. I see it. It helped connect it for me. Like, okay, this makes sense.
I think the other thing for me too is when I first got involved in Bitcoin, the culture was a bit more out there and cypherpunk-esque.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like the counterculture cypherpunk view of the world.
It's not that way now.
Appealing to me. It was like, it was appealing to me. And I do think meme coins restored a bit of that like
Mm,
chaotic internet culture
yeah.
that existed in the cypherpunk roots of Bitcoin. And so it's actually like not surprising to me that people who might be like early Bitcoiners like yourself or me who like that aspect about Bitcoin, you see it show up in these like new ways and you're drawn to it.
Yeah.
I'm drawn to it's like another thing I mentioned at the outset of this call. Like I was drawn to Bridgewater because of the unique culture. I was drawn to Bitcoin and crypto because of this cypherpunk counterculture. I was drawn into SPX and what I see happening in this segment of the market that people feel like they can ignore it because like maybe they have some intellectual superiority, like
Yeah,
now,
that's what it is. Yeah.
right? Like, but that's like kind of what draws me in. It's like
Yeah.
when people say when people say like, "Oh, that thing is fringe," like I want to be there. I want to be studying it. I want to be understanding it because the most interesting markets are the markets that are the least understood. And then this goes back to even like the thing I mentioned in the earliest days of my investment career. Like I like solving puzzles. I like to try to understand how like new systems or new communities work before everyone else shows up. So that's part of what led me here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to shift gears a little bit. Well, still talking about SPX, of course, but how would you, because you have a bit more insight into this, so are you talking to like former coworkers or other crypto professionals about this?
Yeah, people are asking me about it. like a lot of people.
Because they knew your account before, and then they see you've shifted
I
to
think
SPX. Is that why?
I think people who know me well know who I am, know what I'm passionate about, know that I always want to find like the next big revolutionary asset. It's just something
Yeah.
that inspires me and gets me out of bed every day. I think they were surprised when I started going full blown SPX. Um, I think they probably like, a lot of them, I left DCG in June of last year. So I've kind of been like a bit of a lone wolf. Like I'm hanging out
Yeah.
with my family and my friends and my neighbors and stuff. But like, I think they were just like, whoa, like what the hell is going on
Well,
here?
what happened?
Yeah. And then that was the reaction initially.
Yeah.
And I would say in the last, particularly 2 weeks,
Really?
I have a lot of people who are like, okay, I'm starting to get it now. Okay, I'm starting to see it the way you're
Yeah.
seeing. And it's also hard to ignore. This is like the thing with we talked about with Bitcoin. It's hard to ignore now because it's the best performing asset in the market year to date, aside from like maybe one other.
Sure.
So
An
something,
outlier.
so people are there. That's validation, right? It's like validation that something was happening there, and they're like, okay, like I have the validation through the chart. I thought Matt was like a little bit crazy. Now maybe I can see
Yeah.
that things that he was spending time on that he was on to. Let me go and try to figure out what the hell is happening here. And they're starting to see it differently. Like there's some people who are still tremendously skeptical, and that's okay. Like that's fine. And then there's some people who are starting to, I think, understand more of the thesis that we share and others in the community share that like this thing is very, very special and unique.
If they have a Twitter, just tell them to post. Where's the SPX
Yeah,
69?
I'd say if you want to like really understand this thing, you have to create an alt and start immersing yourself,
Yeah.
or you're not going to see it for what it really is because it's actually so big that the only way you can see it for what it is to immerse yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to get like these surface level things. You'll see a tweet or two or like a post or whatnot, but you're not building the mosaic. You're not putting together the full picture of what's happening here. You're not
Exactly.
realizing that there's 200,000 people who are super passionate out there 24/7, 365, like telling everyone about this
Yeah.
and onboarding people who are closest to them.
Yeah.
Like not onboarding random people. They're onboarding people who are close to them because they really, really believe and they want people to be on for the ride with them. And like
Absolutely.
you can't stop that force. That it's my opinion that the Murad talks about critical mass. A lot of people talk about critical mass. It's my opinion that we're at the point of critical mass, and that
Okay.
this is a perpetual motion machine,
Yep.
and you can't stop it. It's too big. There's too many people out there who care about it, and it's just going to continue.
Yep.
And um, who knows what the real exact critical mass number is? But going back to like like a lot of the analysis stuff that I'm doing, I went back and I looked at Bitcoin in 2013, and Bitcoin had about 200,000 wallets that had a balance over $10 in March of 2013. Now, 2013 was an inflection point, a tipping point for Bitcoin, because at the end of the year, it started the year at like $12 and it finished the year at like $750, but it shot up to $1,000.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And the wallet count grew from like 200,000 in March to some multiple of that by the end of the year. And that was a tipping point for like Bitcoin probably goes through as the asset matures, it probably goes through multiple tipping points as it like levels up, you know, to attract a new set of like market
Right.
participants each time. So it's like first it's retail, then it's like early stage hedge funds, then it's like family offices, then it's like, so on and so forth until it gets to like governments, right? And now
Yeah,
the
that's
government,
where we're at. Yeah. The Bitcoin. Yeah.
but like, so it goes through these like inflection points, but that was an inflection point year for Bitcoin. And I think we're at an inflection point for SPX that
Yeah.
simply hasn't been fully realized like in the charts and it hasn't fully played out yet. But like I'm watching that closely and I'm seeing that it's mapping. So
I've seen, yeah, and it's just for me, just being more involved in the weeds of it, and I know you are too. But just seeing all the different new Aeons who are like grinding hard as hell with like crazy ambitious projects. Did you see the one?
It's contagious. Like this is
Yeah,
the more qualitative thing is like
that's what I go by. You know, I
you
don't know
see
all that other
people
stuff.
working hard, like who are on your team. You don't want to you don't want to like slack off. Like I don't know if you
Yeah,
play
yeah,
sports, but like you don't want to slack off when everyone else on the team is working hard.
yeah.
So it becomes contagious. And this is
Yes,
superpower because it
yes,
literally levels up everyone's game.
yes. I made a post about that actually. I was saying, sure, it's important to attract new people, and that's obviously important. But we also need to amplify each other and
Yeah.
make each other more powerful. Because
Yeah.
so,
And there's so there's so there's such a big opportunity for creativity here that I would encourage a lot of people to like sit back and think creatively about like what you can come up with or what you can do here. Like we're really just scratching the surface. You got a 204,000 per person and growing network of people that you can tap into that is at your disposal for creative ideas, and they're going to be like supportive and kind on day one. Like, can you, if I went to another crypto project and I told them, uh, hey, you want to launch this like brilliant idea that you have, I could have a community of 2004 people there on day one. Do you know how much like they would value that? Like what we
yeah,
have already is insanely valuable and it hasn't even been tapped into yet. And I think what we're going to start to see happen over time is, especially as this community grows and becomes like really, really sticky, um, is people are going to start to think strategically about how can I tap into the value in this ecosystem and this social network that exists.
absolutely. I mean, and there is the selfish thought in my mind if we are correct and it blows the hell up, and we all believe that. But I mean, my YouTube channel will blow up too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, yeah, and, like you think about I don't know if you've ever seen it's like that image or video of Andreas Antonopoulos giving a speech on Bitcoin to an empty assembly room. There's like two people in there, and
Yeah,
it
I've seen that one that's like so bullish. He's like, "We'll take it back," and he's like getting crazy with it. It's awesome.
like I really do wonder like if we're creating an archive of like a history here of SPX, and people will come back and watch these videos years from now. Some of them will be like, how did I like miss this?
Yeah, I like to think that's what's happening. Well, the goal that this channel for sure is,
But it's never clear. It's never
yeah,
entirely clear in the moment, too.
no, no,
It's never entirely crystal clear in the moment, and we're going for it, and it's in our control.
and at the very least, new holders can look at like y'all's channel or my channel, and there's like 10, I think 8 episodes now, over an hour each. I mean, you could binge watch this, and it's gonna. I think Cal put it's gonna pill you hard or something like that. You just keep taking more pills.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean,
that,
like the evangelization is really important right now,
yeah.
and it's no different than Bitcoin. Um,
There
you
was
know,
no content back then.
call it shilling, call it evangelization, call it education, call it whatever you want, but that's important.
Hmm. Absolutely. Okay, so I saw a post that you did recently about AI, and you said something to the effect that AI will be able to analyze this better than a human could. I was a little bit. I saw some pushback in the comments. And I was kind of agreeing with that, but I wanted to hear it. I don't know if I totally got what you're saying.
Okay, imagine, all right, you can't see what everyone's doing to support the Cognosphere and to support SPX. You're only like you might scroll through your timeline and you might see a bunch of tweets, but you can't possibly see and process the whole picture of what's happening. You
Right.
know, you don't know that I'm out texting a friend on the weekend saying, "Hey, having this long conversation." So there's a shitload of data out there in the world that if you were to basically have complete visibility into all the data and all the activity and all the actions that are taking place around SPX, I think if you were able to see that full picture,
Yeah.
what is happening here would be crystal clear. And I say that because as someone who started out surface level and then started to expand the aperture as I went further and further down the rabbit hole, you start to see, you're never going to see the full picture of everything that's happening, but you start to see more of the picture. And you're always limited by your like cognitive processing capacity as a human to see everything. But if an AI was able to absorb even just a very, very large percentage of all the data, activity, interactions, engagement that is happening around this thing, it's my view that what's happening here would be like it would be abundantly clear as a phenomenon that you would want to bet on.
Yeah. Yeah. That might be why there's a spiritual component to it, because it's
You
like,
won't see this level of engagement, interaction in any other thing
no.
to this scale. And I think that in and of itself is probably a very, very, very strong signal. And
Yeah.
how I get to that conclusion is just thinking about early days of Bitcoin. There was an element of this. XRP, like stuff on YouTube and TikTok, at ADA, stuff on YouTube. There was an element of this, but no one
Yeah.
saw the whole picture. No one really knew how to like synthesize it, measure it. So they missed that. But I think something that is able to see all of what is happening here, and this is like one of the things that gets me closer and closer to conviction is as I see more of the full picture, the conviction strengthens. Like,
Hey. Yeah.
my belief grows. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
I can possibly process how big
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of unbelievable. I agree. Every day mine grows a little bit more. Sometimes I'm like in the moment I'm like just kind of writing it, and this sometimes it just feels kind of like that. But then something happens and it jumps up a bit. Did you see that one post or one Aeon who's posting? He said he is Lord Krishna, and he was like embodied.
You just doxed the like recently, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
I did. Yeah.
I actually encouraged him to do it because he's been writing these incredible
Oh yeah.
notes.
So
These
how many people are willing to go to that length for any other coin?
yes,
Start to ask these questions. You start to see these data points or instances, and you start to ask questions about them. You're like, okay, how many other people are doing this for anything else?
no,
I've never seen this before for anything else. The
yes,
only thing that people felt this passionately about maybe was Bitcoin, maybe, and that's what I mean by starting to connect the dots to see more of the picture.
yes. Well, what's amazing is he reached out to me because I was commenting. He didn't have too many comments on the first thing he was doing. He was like writing notes, a journal essentially, and then relating SPX in the journal every day, like a full page. And I was commenting and liking it. It wasn't getting a ton of traction. And then I made a suggestion, hey, how about you quote tweet it so that it's like all connected, because that would
Hmm.
be kind of cool, like you click through and look at it better. And we were kind of talking about it, and then he reached out to me. He's like, hey, I know what you're doing. I really appreciate that you're encouraging me and uplifting me. I really appreciate it. And I was like, yeah, it's awesome. And then I said, maybe if you do this, it might make it better. He's like, yeah, that's a good idea. He said, I'm thinking about face docs. I'm like, yeah, you should definitely do that. You should make videos. That's probably the best way to connect with people. Next day he starts making these videos, and then he's like, Lord Krishna's in my body speaking through me. I'm like, this is fucking incredible. I just awoken Lord Krishna.
It's amazing. The other thing we haven't even touched on is there's SPX is filling a lot of voids for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things that I love that I saw a few Aeons post is being kind is so gangster. Like
Be kind to some.
so
Murad said that. It was so funny. Yeah.
and
So funny when he
it's
said it.
so it's so absent in a lot of crypto, and so
Oh God, yeah.
a void, but deep down, and most people would much rather be kind to one another. And
Mm-hmm.
there's so much negativity within the industry, and it's that there's a gap that is wide open for a project and a community to just say, "Hey, we're going to differentiate by literally just decent humans and kind to one another. This is not that hard. Like we just
Right.
gonna stop being assholes all the time, you know?" Um,
That's our number one. Some people make jokes about that now. Yeah, I get so much good comments, so much good karma. It's so great, but oh, this coin's going to fail. It's just people make fun of it because that's one of the things that people will criticize. It's like they just act too nice. I've seen that shit. Like it's crazy, and I agree because
I think you can even be nice simultaneously. I don't think those things are mutually exclusive.
well, being nice is it helps grow the network. If everybody is nice, it makes you not want to dump on people from
I
a
would
price
I would
perspective.
say I can't say this definitively, but my hypothesis would be there's a strong connection between that and the network effects that we're experiencing,
Yes.
outliers versus everything else. Like
Yes.
common sense, really.
Absolutely. I mean, that makes if you attract nice people and everybody's being nice, you don't want to dump on each other. You're less incentivized to do that. You only
Yeah.
sell when you need to, and you're you have more integrity. Yeah, definitely.
So
That's
SPX is a critique in a broader way than Bitcoin was a critique. I like how Peter Thiel described Bitcoin as a critique against the traditional financial system and like a protest. And SPX is a broader critique. It's a critique against the traditional financial system. It's a critique against the uh, the the enshittification of crypto as an industry. It's a critique against the absence of spirituality.
yeah, yeah.
Critique against people being not kind to each other on the internet just because they can sit behind a computer screen and it's easy for them to be that way. Like it's a critique
Hmm.
on so many things
Yes.
um, that are just deeply resonating with a lot of people, and they don't know what to do about it. They don't know where to park that dissatisfaction.
Yeah, it's made me.
Or they,
When I was in like the general crypto sphere, I was more of a dick on Twitter. To be honest, just I was just playing the game. It's like fun to me, and it still is fun. I mean, it's a fun thing to be an asshole. Like it's fun, but then ever since I've embraced SPX at this level, it's like I don't want to do that anymore.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't want to do that anymore. Like I don't. Like, it made me think like more critically of myself online. I was one of those trolls to a degree.
That's good though. You know, like, down that path, you learned that it was fun for you for a little while, and
It's
now you,
PvP. It's PV. Whenever you play an MMO, the first thing you want to do is like, I want to go kill a motherfucker. I want to go take all his shit. You know, like, that's the first thing I want to do.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then eventually you realize that's not going to lead you very
But that's
far.
part of the problem with internet culture writ large
Yeah.
is people just think it's one gigantic video game, and so they don't
Yes.
look at people as humans.
No, and I was definitely guilty of that too. Yeah. Yeah, it's past behavior, but I definitely learned from it, and I would say SPX helped me change that about myself.
Yeah, SPX definitely it requires a different type of thinking to be able to opt into this mission, join this mission, try to do something that is quite difficult versus like what everyone else, but probably the honestly like the right thing and like the thing that makes the most financial sense versus everything else. Um, but that mentality carries over to other aspects of your life.
Right.
And I think this is a very we talk about like the contagious effects of people within the community on other people, but there is also a contagious effect to the way you start thinking about things when you join this community as it pertains to other things you're doing outside the community. So as an example of that, sometimes I'll be going for a run on the treadmill and I try to hit 3 miles and I'll get to 2 miles and I'll be like, tired, man.
Close enough. Yeah.
I want to get off the treadmill. And then I'll just say to myself, how the hell are you going to persist forever if you can't even get to 3 miles? Like, how are you going to be mentally strong enough to go this on this journey with people if you can't even get to 3 miles? And it forces me to like push myself in other elements of my life. So that seems like an alchemy and kind of like a voodoo thing to me when I started initially seeing people say SPX is changing my life. But now I can make direct connections to it and how it um
Yeah. And for me, I was like, I'm a good person day to day and everything. It was just that online was like an outlet for me to be a bully, basically. And I enjoyed that, to be honest. But now I don't want to do that. I want to, my real self is coming out online. So it's good. And also, I've lost like 25 pounds over the past couple of
awesome.
months.
That's awesome.
Still working on that one, but definitely on the right track there. I know
Keep
Mike
going.
lost a lot. Yeah, Mike lost a lot of weight, and he's back in church now. He was not going to church, and he's reconnected with himself and all these great things.
Awesome.
Yep. So I agree. It definitely has an impact there. Um, so probably persisting forever. Do you truly see, like, let's say we keep going? Do you see yourself doing this next year?
Yes.
Okay.
See myself. I can't see myself um, believing in anything else in crypto as strongly as this for the foreseeable future. I won't say like never. It's like a never say never thing, but I've seen a lot over the years. I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of protocols, and ultimately, this is the most compelling, most interesting thing that I'm most excited about and most passionate about since I've gotten into crypto since Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I don't expect that that type of thing happens very frequently.
Right.
And I don't foresee that happening anytime soon
Yeah.
because I think the only reason SPX, or one, I shouldn't say the only reason, one of the reasons SPX is happening now and is powerful now is because, to a certain extent, in my mind, it's like a generational reincarnation of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And that only makes sense once Bitcoin has already like done its thing, solved a bunch of those problems, and hits 115K. So I don't think there's going to be something as exciting as SPX until SPX has run its course a bit more, and then
Yeah.
maybe for another generational reincarnation of this for XYZ reasons. Or maybe there is a really, really revolutionary uh, protocol that is built around some element of technology. Like I think those things are still really, really important.
Yeah.
It just is my belief and opinion now, having stepped out of the crypto industry, seen what I've seen over the last 10 years, and reasoned from first principles that the biggest, most interesting outcomes that are offered and afforded in crypto tend to be these social phenomena, true cryptocurrency types of things. You know,
Yep.
Bitcoin falls in that bucket, Ethereum falls in that bucket, XRP falls in that bucket, Dogecoin falls in that bucket. Um, so when you look at the top 10 assets,
Yeah. Yeah.
most of the interesting things in the top 10 tend to fall in this category, which I think is a different category from fintech with a token, which
Yeah.
is what a lot of crypto is. So there's like these two categories. And this category is just way, way, way more interesting, way to me, way bigger outcomes, way less understood by the masses. And so it creates like the perfect area for me to want to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Um I've tried making video content before, and it never really went anywhere. So I don't. I like doing it. Is my point, and so I don't think I'll. I don't see myself ever not doing it. And as long as we keep going, as long as the attention's there.
I'm really having a lot of fun right now
Yeah.
too. So if you're having fun, you just keep having fun.
Yeah, and the fundamentals keep building.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's really like sometimes I'm sometimes I'll have moments of like pure euphoria actually, and I'm like just kind of I step out. I'm like, wow, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm like, why? How is this happening? And I'm like, is this real? Is it real? Yes. Okay. And then just keep going.
It's real, and we have the power to shape it.
Hmm.
Like it's like I said, it's in our control.
Yeah.
Like I can actually outline very simple steps that if every person in this community took, we would will our own success.
Yes.
It's actually not very hard. It's just a matter of commitment, belief, and then cumulatively in the aggregate, continuing to do these things over time together.
Yeah. Yeah. Self coordination, and it's you can't create that. Like it just happens. It is happening.
This happens.
Yeah.
Um, you cannot. In, I don't think you.
Consensually, like say we're gonna do this.
I
Yeah.
don't think you can intentionally create it because there are a bunch of contextual things that are outside of the control of you as the person who's trying to create it that will happen along the way that have these like feedback loops. So why is SPX standing out today as something that could potentially be a reincarnation, a generational reincarnation of Bitcoin that stands on its own?
Yeah.
That probably doesn't happen without the Trump meme coin launch in January, as painful as that was for a lot of people, and the market meltdown. Like, so there's things that you can set from the outset, and then there's a bunch of things that are out of your control that happen along the way. And it's only when those things line up perfectly that something like this happens. And you cannot recreate the timing. You cannot recreate the exogenous circumstances. It's not possible.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so special when something like this happens, because it's this rare intersection of having the right ingredients that you've set and are trying to achieve from the outset, but also how the rest of the world interacts with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's happening, and that's what I was saying. I have those moments from like, what is going on? But yeah, because I'm connecting with people that I never would have connected with, talking to people I never would have talked to. It's really cool.
It's really cool. And I think there will be great friendships that are forged here over the years. And I think when you look at people in the Bitcoin community or the Ethereum community or even other communities, you see that
Yeah,
and really build deep, amazing relationships and memories with people. And that's kind of what it's all about, honestly. Like what you want to sit in front of deck screener and like click buttons all day by yourself? Like that's a miserable life.
yeah,
Like you know, but if you're out building with people, trying to achieve a mission together, this is way more purposeful in my experience.
absolutely, absolutely. I got a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
Um, we talked a bit about it, but how big do you see the movement getting? Like, what do you imagine? Let's say 3 years from now. What is your belief? What do you imagine this will be?
So I said to someone the other day that what's happening here to me is very, very clear, but the order of magnitude is a question mark.
Okay.
I think when you're looking at things like this, there can be such nonlinear consequences and outcomes and outliers that is so hard to predict. I do think that continuing to grow the base of the network is the fastest way to accelerate the outcome. So today we have 205 people who are out there as proponents of this thing, telling people about it, evangelizing, onboarding. When you get to 400,000 people, the effect is nonlinear, it's exponential. So it's not like we've doubled our output, like there's some exponent that we've applied to our output. So when you start to get to really, really big numbers of people participating in this thing, um, it can accelerate very, very quickly. And that's why I think this point that Murad has made and a lot of people are talking about critical mass is so important because once you cross that, you've got a perpetual motion machine.
I feel like we were. I think we're already there, like you mentioned.
Me too. I mean,
I think it's It feels inevitable. Like everybody is so freaking relentless. Even if 10, 15 people out of 18 or 16 or something says no, you still get another person. It's just going to keep happening.
like a Salesforce, in
Yeah.
a lot of ways, right? Like you just can't stop a 200,000 person pe group of people selling an idea and a vision and a product to people. It's a product, yeah, in a way.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's not giving it the credit it deserves, but
It's a
just to
good
like
analogy. Yeah.
simplify the equation, like, and so there's every day there. That's why you see if you were to look at holder growth, that is why you see it go up every single day, no matter what, because there's always people out there working.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why I think you can't stop this
And
thing.
the beauty of it is the memetics keeps people here. It keeps people interested. It's not like, oh, it's some animal coin. We're gonna like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it has been very surprising to me. Having pitched people on Bitcoin back in 2015 and 2016, and then there's only been a few coins, maybe three or four, that I've actually told like my friends about or my family about because I was always like, yeah, this might be a good investment or a good trade and it might make a lot of money, but like if it goes south, like I don't want to, I don't want my friends and family to get hosed. So I've really only told them about things that I'm in for the long term that I really deeply believe in. And this is one of those things.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people are not crypto native. And I have been surprised at how quickly they understand it. And I think the reason they understand it and are excited about it very quickly are multifaceted. So one reason I think that is the case is because we now have 15 years of people understanding, okay, crypto is its own asset class. Maybe they've learned a little bit about blockchain technology. Like they have a foundational education where they know what this is a little bit. As opposed to if you were trying to tell someone about Bitcoin back in, 2014,
Yeah.
2015, you'd
Well,
have to go through like, what is a blockchain, proof of work, like all this type of stuff. How do I buy it? Like what wallet do I onboard? Like we're at a point in the maturity of the asset class where you can skip over a lot of that, which makes the onboarding process easier.
yes.
The other reason I think it is very easy for them is it attaches to a problem that a lot of them are experiencing themselves. So they experience inflation. They're experiencing where do I put my money in a world where like real estate has gone up and to the right, the stock market has gone up and to the right, Bitcoin has gone up and to the right. Like what do I do? Where do I put my money? They're experiencing that question. They might be experiencing slower wage growth in their careers, and they're like, how the hell am I going to get ahead? They might be trying to buy a house and they're going out and shopping around for houses and they're paying some very large sum of money to get a much smaller house than they had anticipated. So the problem is something that they are more deeply connected to and experiencing firsthand, which is all related to this feeling of like the system is not working for me or for a large group of people in society.
Yeah.
And so they see that very directly. And so introducing an asset to them that is essentially a magnet coalescing a lot of people who want to express that view through a financial vehicle that attaches to this latent feeling in society that is everywhere, is something that just resonates with people very, very quickly.
Right. Yeah. That did pop up another thought real quick. So if you were going to pitch this to a company, would you just strictly do the metrics, or would you go into those kind of ideas as well?
I would talk about the context. I think the context is super important. So I would start with Bitcoin. Why did Bitcoin was a response to the 2008 financial crisis.
Right.
Um, Bitcoin was a belief that the system was not working for people, that fiat currency is a product that was provided by governments and they were not doing a good job. And people were experiencing and feeling that themselves, like watching the printers turn on and things like this. And Bitcoin was an enticing and attractive alternative to a problem that they saw and that they felt. And I think then taking them through the journey of, have you ever thought about the possibility that Bitcoin, this is something that has like deeply resonated with me more recently. Have you ever thought about the possibility that that same latent belief in society that manifested at the right time in the aftermath of 2008 and was concentrated in Bitcoin could reemerge at other times through other assets? Have you ever thought about that possibility? A lot of people haven't, but when you prompt them that way, they start to think about it. They're like, oh, and you're like, yeah. Like, do you think GME was like maybe a manifestation of a similar feeling that was directed and concentrated in another asset? They're like, yeah. Oh, that kind of does make sense. Oh, but they turned off the buy button for, they stopped it. It was on, it was as Manj described it, I think on your last podcast, it was an away game.
Yeah,
And
not good. Yeah.
so GME was stopped short. And has the world really improved that much? Do you think there's still a very large group of people in society who feel like the system is not working for them and don't have an alternative? Bitcoin was an alternative. Do you think now is the time that another alternative makes sense? If this type of thing were to happen, does it solve a lot of problems for a lot of people? Yes. And then you start to go into like, okay, yeah, conceptually that makes sense, but is it happening?
Right.
And that's where you can draw them to some of the evidence and things that I was looking at, where it's like, yeah, I think it's happening. So that is kind of how I've told the story. Is like, what is Bitcoin really? Why did Bitcoin happen? What was the timing, context, and circumstances around Bitcoin? Have you thought of the idea that it's possible that Bitcoin is a recurring phenomenon? Why does that make sense? Why does it not make sense? Do you think GME was an example of that?
Yeah.
GME was stop short. Did that feeling go away? Not really. If there was a new vehicle that afforded people with an opportunity to work together and express that view, and it came together with the right set of ingredients and circumstances, do you think that could happen again? People are like, yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I think that story has in my experience, it like hits people.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to think about it, even for talking to individuals as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, last question: what do you say to typical crypto analysts that are like missing the phenomenon entirely? Like, what do you say to them?
I tell them such a good question. Honestly, a lot of the conversation starts around deconstructing some views that they have and almost encouraging them to like forget everything that you think you know about crypto. And walking them through this idea that there might be two types of crypto assets: social phenomena and fintech plays with a token. Do you agree with that? Yes or no? And then you can do some grouping. So you could be like, yeah, like I think like there's this thing that's happening within crypto, which is more centered around social phenomena, which a lot of people are not talking about, and it seems pretty misunderstood. And then there's this other element of people who are talking about things like revenue and token buybacks within the category of uh, fintech with a token plays, but they're taking this category of fintech with a token plays and thinking it applies to everything.
Right.
Like that is the only framework through which you can view crypto. And when I'm
Oh
trying
God.
to
Yeah.
people, it's like, no. There's like two different types of assets within crypto.
Right.
Getting them to see that, and then I think people can start to see that, which I think a lot of people can't or haven't thought about fully yet.
Yeah.
And then once they can see that, it's actually kind of going back to the thing that I just mentioned, where like, okay, so now that you can see that, would you agree that Bitcoin is technology, or like a social phenomena, like that there was a big social phenomena piece within Bitcoin, sometimes they'll be like, well, yeah, Bitcoin was like built on technology. And then I'll have the conversation with them like, okay, well, the technology sort of facilitated it, but it was really the belief in social phenomena that carried it from there. And you have like that type of conversation. And then I take them through a similar story as I do with Bitcoin. Why did Bitcoin happen in 2008 all the way up to what I'm seeing today? And so I think when people spend the time and we have that conversation, I think a lot of it, in my experience, without being like uh, giving myself too much credit, I think it does open people's minds a little bit.
I I find it kind of like if like these different media outlets like CoinDesk or whatever. It's like how are they not? It just blows my mind that they're all missing it. I just don't. It blows my
Yeah,
mind to be
I think
honest.
the social phenomena thing, we're talking about it more these days. I think it's actually really hard to understand, and it took me a long time of a lot of deep thinking to even realize that. Like, oh wait, there's two types of things here.
No, okay,
It's
okay,
just like not obvious.
okay.
Um, and it's also more abstract and harder to wrap your mind around because it's a less well understood thing. Like if you asked a bunch of people why Bitcoin happened or why GME happened,
Yeah,
you'd probably get like a million different answers. There's no like consensus view as to how do you define those types of things. And what I'm spending more time trying to do these days is wait, there's a fabric, a DNA, a set of ingredients that you can consistently map across these things
yes,
and understand. So, yeah, I don't think it's obvious at all. So I don't,
yeah.
it's actually not surprising to me that a lot of people are not seeing it that way.
Interesting. I think I got it easier because I didn't, I understood Bitcoin and I understood why it was successful, and I knew that I was a Bitcoin maxi basically from the start. I didn't like start with crypto and then kind of move to it. I didn't get the other stuff to be honest.
Yeah, the other thing I think people struggle with around a social phenomena is it's hard to discern a social phenomena from maybe like uh, a pump and dump or a Ponzi scheme,
Yeah,
right? Because in the beginning they have similar characteristics. It's like okay, it just starts to run away, and then the difference with like a true movement and a social phenomena with using Bitcoin as an example is it continues, and then with a lot of pump and dumps they completely
die.
fail. And so then you have to ask yourself the question. I think it's important to ask the question, well, like why? Like what was it about Bitcoin that allowed it to be a perpetual motion machine that continued indefinitely?
Yes,
And it's my view that one of the elements that led Bitcoin to be a perpetual motion machine that continued indefinitely was a couple things. The ideology, the religion behind Bitcoin is timeless. Like
yes,
there's a group of people out there that fundamentally believe money should be transmissible on the internet, you know, at the same speed as information in uh, uh, like a tamper resistant way. Like people just fundamentally believe in that. Well, forever, their view on that will never change. People believe that the money supply of a currency should be transparent and shouldn't be decided at the whims of a small group of people trying to oversee and manage a very, very complex system with many, many different constituents and people that they can't possibly manage well for everyone. So people like the alternative of something that's like super transparent. They know what they're getting into. So so Bitcoin offered a timeless alternative in that way.
yes,
Where the religion, it's like it's binary. You either believe it or you don't.
yeah,
And I think that goes back to this idea that that's a latent belief in society that a lot of people had, but they had no way to express that view. And then Bitcoin gave them a way to express that view. And the group of people who have that view is very, very, very large.
yes,
Um, so I think I view SPX as similar in to Bitcoin. And then so yeah, so Bitcoin was like an alternative in a world where no other alternative existed. It was an alternative, it was a critique, it was an ideology that was timeless, where there was nothing else that filled that void. And I view SPX as similar because until the system and all of the different facets of the world that I mentioned to you earlier uh, are fixed, that SPX is filling the void for, which will be never.
Right.
Um, that belief will be timeless and ubiquitous and latent and something that a lot of people want to opt into because they don't see any other alternatives that can fill that void as well.
Exactly.
And so
Yeah.
it will continue to grow in terms of number of people involved in it as more people understand and learn about this alternative. And as it continues to grow in the number of people who are holders and participants in the network, the actual fundamental intrinsic value of the asset itself rises because the two are tethered together. So as the social network layer of people who want to participate in this grows, it will justify SPX going higher and higher and higher. In the same way, more people getting involved in Bitcoin and putting money to work justified it going higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
And that I think that can continue for a very, very long time. Um, and uh, it doesn't I don't see like a clear definitive reason for that to end until you get to like a point of total saturation where like, okay, everyone in the world who would be in this is in this.
Yes.
Everyone's been educated on this. This thing has gone up so much that there's not possibly any, upside left in it. But I think Bitcoin is a good example of like how long these things can go on because like even today at $115,000, Bitcoin could still have a tremendous amount of upside.
Yeah,
It
because it's not driven by
probably does. So
individuals.
what will sustain that the longevity of the asset is over time it earns trust. So like you trust it today, I
Right.
trust
Right.
it.
Right. Right.
5 years from now, people will trust it more. 10 years from now, people will trust it more. And then at a
Absolutely.
certain point, it just becomes ingrained. Like people trust it almost implicitly, which is where Bitcoin is for a lot of people now, a lot more people. And as long as you can continue to climb the pyramid of going from like early believers, cypherpunks to retail to forward thinking hedge funds to family offices to uh,
Companies. Yeah.
next the next you have to keep climbing the ladder to the next layer of participants. And it actually makes sense that it will continue because certain players can only get involved when it becomes sufficiently large.
Yes.
So for the different players at different stages of the game, they don't like necessarily compete against retail. They compete against other players that are operating in the same layer as them. So even let's say hypothetically Bitcoin or SPX got to like $5 billion. There's a game theoretical thing that kicks in here, where if you're the first, maybe you have to wait until it gets to $5 billion for it to even be like interesting for you as a hedge fund where you want to put money behind it. But once it gets to $5 billion, there's this game theoretical thing where it's like, well, if I'm the first hedge fund to move on that, then I can actually still be early. Even though
Yes.
I'm like later than these other people, I'm still early in the sense that I'm the first hedge fund into this thing at the earliest time that my cohort can get into this thing.
Right.
And people start to play this game theoretical game at different levels. And for Bitcoin, we're now at like the government level, right?
Yeah.
Which okay, like the US is trying to game theoretically be the
Yeah.
first mover on that scale of the stage. So it can continue because you just keep leveling up. And I think the you saw this with Bitcoin, like the first hedge funds to move on Bitcoin. That was like one of the game theoretically smartest things to do.
Right.
And they created the pressure and they started the domino effect. And once it's like a couple of them are out there playing that game, then everyone has to play that game. Once there's
Yep.
one government playing the game on Bitcoin, then a lot of governments have to play that game. You can literally force people to play the game.
Yep.
And
Yep.
another reason I think Aeons are kind of like in control is like just keep going.
Yep.
And you're going to will you have the power and ability to will this thing into to success and to achieve what you want to achieve and force people to play the game.
That's a great thought. That's a good way to think about it. Um, did you have any final thoughts? I pretty much ran through it. I wanted to run through.
This was awesome, man. I really enjoyed it. It's 10 p.m. here, so
Yeah, me too.
I gotta get some shut eye. But no,
Yeah.
awesome. I really appreciate you having me on. I love the conversation, and I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting up at some point in person and hanging out a bit more.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too. Yeah, and thanks for joining. And yeah, I'm glad we went into all this, and it was awesome to hear your perspective. I know a lot of people respect your background, so they find that interesting. And
Thank you so much.
yep, yeah, I appreciate it. So if you've listened this far, I appreciate it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. There will be a link to Matt's X account below. Please give him a follow if you haven't already. Until next time, persist forever, Aeons.
Persist forever.